what we have. In 1947, therefore, the Literature Bureau was established by an elite community to publish for themselves the books they use for their children. With the independence of countries in Africa, in East Africa particularly, East African community, the first East African community was formed. And with that too, they identified education as among the areas they wanted to address as the area of in a deficiency amongst other areas. So with that, they sought to have their own books to equip their own schools. And that is how East African Literature Bureau, the Literature Bureau was converted, adopted by the governments, and became the East African Literature Bureau. Headquarters for the same was Nairobi here, Upper Hill, an area called Community. It has remained to be called Community because it was where we had the headquarters for the East African community. Historians were in the house, and many others who may be informed, Mr. Jumba is here, Mr. Daka is here, and many others do very well know that is where the East African community was domiciled. With the breakup of the same community in 1977, the East African Literature Bureau collapsed. However, the Kenyan chapter lived on and was adopted by the Ministry of Education as a department. The Tanzanian chapter died. The Ugandan chapter died. The publications which were for East African Bureau, some still existed under Kenya Literature Bureau, or Kenya Literature Bureau propelled, continued to host the same publications and sold or distributed the same publications. By an act of parliament, chapter 209, Kenya Literature Bureau was born in 1980 with the objective, with the mandate to publish and distribute learning materials, educational materials to the Kenyan populace, including the schools. To this day, the mandate which we were established for is alive. We kept changing the vision to realize the mandate of publishing for the Kenyan populace and distributing literary materials. Kenya Literature Bureau, in its mandate, publishes its quality books. It does also promote local authorship. Teachers of Kenya, I want to assure you that Kenya Literature Bureau has the authors for the publications after it became Kenya Literature Bureau being done heavily by the locals, because that was the idea, to promote local authorship so that people can also patronize books and develop reading culture. To this day, we have almost 1,000 authors, bulk of them publishing for educational material, and they are teachers amongst you. So the author, for the facilitator for today, is a teacher and is also an author. So to the team we have had, and many others we're not able to bring on board. The social studies team we shall have are all teachers, and they author educational material. That is the idea of Kenya Literature Bureau, and we are proud that we've been able to build the authorship and readership and improve readership of books in Kenya. Today, we have our mandate or our vision, which was improved the other day, to develop a knowledgeable and inspired society. That is the mandate of Kenya Literature Bureau, to have a knowledgeable and inspired society. Let me share the image and the face of Kenya Literature Bureau, the benefit of the members who may not have visited the Kenya Literature Bureau, your company. Whatsoever, the image I have at the front, therefore, is the image of Kenya Literature Bureau, the head office where we are located at Bellevue area. We have, therefore, the vision of your organization where you patronage in the best way, in a big way, is to have a knowledgeable and inspired society through competitive publishing and printing solution. Behind this building that you are seeing is a big factory. The only publishing firm today in this country with a factory for printing the books. So that is Kenya Literature Bureau on the face. And therefore, we take pride on the fact that you teachers and us, Kenya Literature Bureau, have made sure that we are one. That is why we engage you to be our authors, so that as you use your books, you don't say wameandika. It is you who interpreted the curriculum supplied by KICD. In writing, we select teachers amongst you and grow them. Those ones who've showed interest. We want to encourage you to patronize our books, gel with our books, pick our books, encourage your learners, encourage your directors, encourage your head teachers, encourage yourself to read a publication from Kenya Literature Bureau. Out of that, you will be able, and we shall be able, to know you and establish a lasting relationship through authorship. Because this day largely is not to educate you so very much about Kenya Literature Bureau per se, our job was to give you an overview of rationalized areas of the social studies curriculum. We also shall go into in the content, the facilitator shall discuss the rationalization of social studies. And there is be it from the grade 4 all the way to grade 9. And we will also look into the approaches used in meeting the curriculum design for social studies, an assessment for social studies. I want to inform the teachers who are in now. I want to see your number. The teachers whom we have, I'm checking to see your number. At some point, I'd seen a good number. The teachers who may be here, there are about 300 teachers, and the number keeps growing, that Kenya Literature Bureau has published for all levels, for every class, a course book and a teacher's guide. For grade 4, 5, 6, our social studies brand name is Visionary. And we have Visionary grade 4 social studies, grade 5, grade 6. Our grade 7, 8, 9, being a junior school, and to separate those two levels, we have the brand name Reading Top Scholar. So the brand name for social studies junior school is the Top Scholar. For the grade, we have the brand name Reading Visionary. We do also have other supporting materials from Kenya Literature Bureau. We have other supporting materials. We have an atlas, a very progressive atlas, because it reflects the changes in the curriculum and the usefulness in CBC, especially the rationalized one. It is an activity-based atlas. You will enjoy seeing our atlas, using our atlas. Teachers who are present here, I want to usher in our facilitator for today. I want to usher in our editor, Mr. Adakai Bramwell, to introduce our facilitator for today, the lead facilitator. We have all the other, we have a panelist, but the lead panelist here is, we have a professor to take us through. Bramwell, welcome to the floor. Mr. Belio, take the screen to him. Bramwell, introduce the facility. You are not audible, Bramwell. You are not audible.
Can you hear me
introduce, now? Yes, yeah, introduce the facilitator as you do your part. Finally, you introduce the facilitator who will carry us through. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, teachers and colleagues. My name is Bramwell Adakai. I'm the editor in charge of social studies. I take this opportunity first to welcome you and appreciate you for being part and parcel of KLB family. We don't take this for granted. I know it's holiday. Many of you have other responsibilities. But given the fact that you have taken time to be with us, we appreciate that and we don't take it for granted. So today we'll be taking you through the social studies from grade 4 to grade 9. I see, understand the KICD rationalize or rather revise some of these designs from grade 4 to all the way to grade 9. So we'll be taking you through these areas that were revised or rather rationalized. For instance, from grade 7 to grade 9, you realize that initially we used to have social studies and life skills, but now the two have been merged. So we'll be telling you how this occurred, and also you realize the new design is a bit different and a bit relaxed compared to the old designs we've been using for the last 5 or so years. So we'll be telling you what has been merged, what has been removed, and what has been retained. So the person that I have a team of authors already on board, but the lead author who will be taking us through is one of us. Is a teacher. He's a professor of geography. He teaches at Garissa University. He's a well-experienced author. Also has been involved in designing this curricula with the KICD. He's been involved a lot in research. Also, at some point, working with the Kenya National Examination Council in the setting. So he will give us a big scope on what is at stake. So I want to invite all of us to be to take note of what Professor will be taking us through. And also, I have on board another author who is also a member of the team, Sir Asa Okoth. Those who know him, Mwalimu Asa is also part of the team. I'll also be inviting him at some point to make a few remarks and also guide. There are also other authors on board, part of the team. They'll be also responding to some of the queries when you raise them. So at this point, I want to invite Professor. Prof, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you, Bwana Adakai.
Yes, maybe if you could see your face. I think for the sake of teachers to just see you, and maybe at some point if you feel you want to mute, you'll still remove the video. So welcome, Prof. This is Professor Hugo. He'll be taking us through.
Thank you, Mr. Dakai and the KLB team for giving us this opportunity to share with our teachers. I'm one of the teachers about social studies series from grades 4 to grade 9. My name is Julius Huho, a professor of geography at Garissa University. And in this case, I'll take you through what has been going on in the authorship of KLB books so that at least you understand why these books stand out amongst the rest. I request Wanakoech, if you have the slides, you share. And if you have the slides, Wanakoech.
It's okay. Let me ask the person, Belio, mount the slides. Professor, as the slides are being mounted,
yes.
Keep introducing as the slides are being mounted. I want to believe. Let me just reach out to this officer across.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So the process of writing social studies book has been vigorous, and I want to say that it's a process that involves so many stakeholders, not only whereby you find that books are written by one person, but they're written by several others with several meetings taking place, various stakeholders engagement, gathering information, detailed information, so that each and every page, each and every word that comes into the book is peer reviewed by a number of others. So, and with that, you've realized that there's no book from KLB Social Studies that is written by less than 5 authors. And in each and every of these series, teachers who write the books start from, they are selected across board from high performing schools and otherwise, even those that are county schools, extra county schools, and national schools. And the reason for this is to ensure that all learners are catered for, those that are gifted and talented, and those that are maybe approaching expectation or even below expectation. So all these are catered for, because when these others from different schools of different capability, different performance come together, they are able to share their experiences, how they deal with their learners at that level. And also those from high performing school, they are able to share. So, and this makes the language that is used to be so moderate for all learners. And you realize that in the authorship of this book, they've incorporated university lecturers and also teachers from TTCs to ensure that there is that transition. For instance, now you go to grade 7 to 9, whereby now they are supposed to transit to senior school, where they take geography, they take history and government and so on, and they also transit to university. They want to ensure that there's that consistency. At least learners have something that's they are being brought up in a way that they are able to fit into the system when they get to the senior school and also to the university. So that wide range of others, that expertise that comes from others, have the heart of the learner in the heart. And it has made the book stand out, and I wish that the strides could come up, because you realize, like in this series, we have people like Mr. Asa Okob, who is a very experienced author for a very long period of time. And anytime the issues of history are being discussed, he is, so to say, like a walking dictionary. He's a walking encyclopedia who will always moderate the content that's being brought up in history, and also mentor the young authors who are coming up. And with all vast experience that he has, he's able now to give content that caters for those schools that are low performing and those that are high performing. I want to follow up with my slides, which will not take too much time. And to start with, teachers, my fellow teachers, is that KLB Social Studies, grade 4 to 9 are in 2 series. And as you can see, the first series, that is grade 4 to 6, these series are referred to as visionary social studies. As you can see them here, grade 4, 5, and 6, they are called visionary social studies. And from grade 7 to 9, the books are called top scorers. And as you can see, as they are displayed. So that's basically, we go to next slide, please. And that's now, for these books to be put on shelves, to be sold, or to be approved by KICD, they have really integrated all the rationalization materials that KICD has come up with. So we know, all of us know that KICD has been undergoing changes. The curriculum design has been undergoing changes every other time, and this is based on the feedback that they are getting from stakeholders, teachers, parents, learners, all of them, they give their stakeholders, and with that, they incorporate They do a very good job to incorporate this feedback because they want a curriculum that speaks to the learner, that speaks to the challenges that we are facing in Kenya, that speak to the current, the core competencies of 21st century. And with that, any feedback that's found viable is incorporated with this. And this is to take into consideration into this, the design have undergone the rationalization process, as Mr. Adakai mentioned. It has undergone that rationalization process, and this has led to some strands, substrands, and learning outcomes to be dropped, others merged. For example, you find that in junior school, some strands have been dropped, like issues of, you know that there was that section of life skills, which has either been dropped or merged to fit into other component. And with this, whereas the social studies books, KLB social studies book, had developed content with this information, they've been revised to ensure that they take into consideration into consideration all the changes that KICD has brought on board. And therefore, I'm proud to say that the books are 100% aligned to the KICD approved curriculum. So the process of rationalization, from whichever angle, I know these issues has been discussed all over many times, but all rationalization has been taking place, the process, all content has been integrated. What is to be dropped has been dropped, what is to be added has been added. We go to the next slide, please. Now, why are we here today? We are here today to see, to understand why the KLB social study books. There are so many books outside there, books that are authored by different companies, but why is KLB standing out as one of the best books in the market? One, we have various points that, or the salient features that makes KLB social books to stand out ably. One is the approach that the authors take and the bureau takes. Secondly is the issue of authorship. I'll be dealing with this each and every point. And the authorship, how the authorship is composed. Also, there's the issue of key points. In each and every substrand that is written, there's that section of key points. Why is it important? Why is it something that we should be proud of, having these key points? Then there's the assessment exercise. There are two levels of assessment exercise. There is the formative and the summative. And I can tell you for sure that they're taking into consideration, the social studies is taking into consideration even the way the exams are set at summative level by NEC. They've gone to an extent of trying to research how an exam being set. How is the issue of context coming in the setting of questions, so that as we continue revising, this aspect is coming out clearly, that there is no question that's going to be set without the aspect of context. Also, there's the issue of strict adherence to curriculum design. I've mentioned that, but I'll be mentioning it again. And finally, and the most important thing is that this social studies book are authority on its own. They're the most trusted reference materials. I've interacted, as you've heard, I teach in the university, and at that point, we teach, we train our learners on, as they prepare to go for teaching practice, teaching methods, and so on. And when it comes to this aspect, because now currently we've integrated the issues of CBC into our curriculum. When it comes to social studies, one of the books that we mention mostly, that we tell them, can you go read? And the books that you'll find in the library, among the other books and the most used book is the KLB books. And these are the most trusted reference material. If the answer is not in KLB or what is in KLB, you find that teachers want to take that as one of the best answers ever. So these are some of the points, and I want, now let's look at our approach. Why are we so good? One is that KLB uses very simplified language. Our books use easy to understand language that fits the level of the learner. As I mentioned earlier, the language is moderated by a team of authors who are drawn from all types of schools, highly performing others. And you'll agree with me, teachers, that there are schools, the county schools, and since all of us are in Kenya, we know some schools in the rural areas whereby the language itself is a problem. These are schools whereby the people who are joining these schools are the ones who are on the lower end of the marks in their KCPE. And how do we make our social study books fit into all these people who are from national schools and people from those local schools? This is by making the language so friendly. And I allowed the Bureau, KLB, for making sure that any team has got teachers from each and every, that county schools are represented, extra county schools are represented, and national school, and now even the university are represented, so that that continuum will make sure that the learner at that lower level will be able to understand the books that we have. However, the language of the discipline requires, if the language of the discipline requires use of new terminologies, they are to be used. For instance, you realize that with these designs, with the 21st century and what is coming up, some of the terminologies must be introduced because there's no way you can deviate. We take cognizance of language of the discipline. As much as we try to simplify it as the best we could, but the issue of the language of the discipline. For instance, let me give an example. You may find that there are some new concepts that are coming up in map work. Because of the digital literacy, you find that some aspect of the way maps are being drawn. You may find that an issue like GIS coming up in map drawing, such a term will be introduced and be explained what it means, but that term must be brought as is, because that's the language of the discipline. So the language is so simplified for all learners. The other approach that makes these books stand out is development of concepts. How are the concepts being developed? You realize that in all the books, any learning outcome is developed by not less than 3 activities. Whereas in some books, you may find that a learning outcome is developed by just 1 activity. In this book, Social Studies, each learning outcome is developed by not less than 3 activities to make sure that by the time the learner gets to the key points, by the time this learner is through with the 3 activities, at least he has grasped all the concept, or he has grasped the concept that is supposed to be taught. So, and you realize that, and all of us are aware that with CBC, the system is that it's learner-driven, not teacher-driven. Teachers are just facilitators. And with them doing these activities, it makes them understand, comprehend the concept that are being taught. So that is across all our books, that no concept will be developed with less than 3 activities. And this is to ensure that the learner understands the concept from different perspectives. You may realize, teachers, I know you come from diverse schools, that maybe in your school, you may think that this concept is too simple. And sometimes you may think that you want to ignore that first activity because you think it's so simple. But there's this learner who needs to start from that basic before developing into the to the other activity. Because the way we align them is that we start with the simplest activity as we graduate. We start from the known going to unknown. Simplest as we graduate to those that are a bit complex. To make sure that we cater for all learners at all levels. The other approach that's very, very useful, and that you'll find in our books, is that there's extensive use of pictorials, images, and diagrams. Actually, where we must use a diagram, it will always be there. We like these because, and why do we use them? Because we understand, as authors, we understand that they help learners grasp context, complex concept easily by observing. And for instance, if you look at the pictures that are there, the pictures I've captured, these are some excerpts from the book. You realize in this activity 15 on child labor, even before you start telling the learner, what's child labor, looking at, for instance, looking at photo B, you simply just see that these learners are working. So even by asking questions, what do you see in that photo? The learner, no matter the level, will just tell you that they are children. What are they doing? They are working. So with that, you'll be able to bring up the concept of child labor very, very easily. We also like photos using this diagram because pictures are more memorable than text. If you give a learner that picture A and activity 15, picture A, when they go home or wherever they are playing, they'll just remember that there were very young children in uniform. They were using guns, and that therefore that thing will remain in their memory. So when you're talking about child labor, how they are misused, it's very easy for them to remember that. The other thing is that they stimulate imagination and creativity. You see like picture B, or you go to even the study diagram. I want to use the simplest, the one that can make a learner have this picture in mind as to stimulate imagination. I'm still in picture B where these young children are working. If you're trying to tell them the careers in social studies, you need to do social studies, you need to do this, and they see these young children working in a mine, and you ask them, how do you like the environment? You can see they are working in a pool of water. They start imagining, maybe if I don't work hard, this is the type I live. And they start imagining how life can be and how children can be exploited working in very bad environment. And also, they help them analyze and promote critical thinking skills. All these factors is what makes us use this use of photos. And more importantly, it makes learning very enjoyable. I can imagine as teachers, or even when we read, if you read, you can imagine reading a newspaper, a whole page without a picture. It will become so boring. But when you see pictures, first of all, you look at the picture, try to understand the picture, then you read the story behind. So learning becomes more enjoyable. If you look at the study diagram there, you are talking about continental drift, and they see that, you tell them the evidence of rocks and what have you. By just seeing at that Africa and South America, they'll be able to see the rocks that you are talking about. And also we use flowchart and diagrams as shown in those pictures. We proceed. Samuel? The other approach is content in form of activities. You realize that CBC is more on activities, and we appreciate that because it's learner-centered. It's more on activities. But as we developed, as the content is being developed, the authors realize that sometimes to get all this information, the content that is required, we may end up having so many activities, up to 50 in a single learning outcome, because there's a lot of information that's required to be learned by these learners. So what did KLB social studies opted to? One is they decided to use content, to give content in form of activities. And this is what is given in activity 6. And before I come to what is in activity 6, I also want to mention what is in E. You see, in E is the use of resource person. It's common, it's core in the book. Where possible, the activities requires that a resource person is invited, because these are experienced experts from various fields. And as they talk to the learners, they'll arouse the curiosity of these learners to want to know more about their career, and also linking the learner with people in their prospective careers. We are teaching, we want learners who will be able to identify with themselves with the career that they want to pursue. And with this, when they interact with these experts, they'll be in a position to ask questions, maybe not only that is concentrate, that deals with what they are being taught, but also they want to know more about the careers. Now, let me come to activity 6, because the two are merged. If you look at the activity 6 here, allow me to read. It says that grade 9 learners from Ruka Junior School invited a population expert. In this context, the discussion or the substance, not the substance, but the learning outcomes was about population. And therefore, they invite a population expert. So this is somebody who is going to talk about population because this is an expert, and that's the use of resource person. But now, as you go down, you see the conversation between Leon all the way to Olive. These people are talking about, it's an activity that they're supposed to read, but they're talking about, it's the content. For instance, what is fertility? And Ines, the expert here, says fertility is the ability of a woman to conceive a child. So as much as an activity they are reading, but the content is embedded in this activity. So why this is done is to make sure that the content is not lost somewhere with the few activities, but the content is inbuilt within the activities. Bramwell, we move on. So that's the approach. Bramwell, we can go to the next slide. Now, that's the approach, among other approaches that the social studies authors have taken. The second approach that's very critical, and this is the wisdom of the KLB, this is the wisdom of Kenya Literature Bureau. You'll forgive me, I'm somewhere outside, that's why you are hearing birds. So the Bureau need to be credited for this. They ensure that social studies series are written by many authors, at least 5, some going to 7. Because what they look at is the quality. You can imagine, for instance, we are talking about continental drift. There's what how those learners in those schools that don't perform so well, how they understand, how they are taught. There are those in medium performing school and high performing school, how they are taught. And when we have these others from different schools, when they are brought together, they are able to bring that information the best way possible and ensure that the quality is not lost. And remember, teachers, I mentioned as I began that we use a very simplified language. And in most cases, you realize when you try to use simple language, sometimes quality is lost, sometimes meaning is lost. Sometimes meaning is lost. So what happens? When we have these others, it's a rigorous process whereby you'll use a certain word or some certain terminologies, and other colleagues or other others will just tell you that no, that term will bring a very different meaning. And we have to do a lot of research trying to see the meaning. What does it mean actually? Until we come to a consensus that, okay, this is the meaning of this term. This term cannot be used. It has 2 meanings, not unless it's made clear. And because of that, Bramwell, you lost me. I can't see the page. I can't see the PowerPoint. But as he tries to get me on backtrack, 5 others, you can imagine 5 others looking at a learning outcome, and all of them reading from, first of all, you develop that content, you tell people what you mean, and they look at it keenly and tell you, no, this activity is beyond this level of learner. These activities or this term that you use, it's giving us a different connotation and therefore need to be dropped. Can we replace with this? So, Bramwell, are you lost? Go to authorship.
Professor,
Yes.
someone has walked to his office to correct something.
Yes.
Yes, there was it was hanging, so someone has gone to do some corrections. Yes.
So can I proceed from this end, or we wait?
Then if you if you have the information offered, you can go ahead, Prof.
Yes, I can.
All right. I'm seeing them showing something on the screen. I think they should have hidden this part so that they do their part first.
Okay.
Let me call them on phone to tell them. I think they dropped somewhere as they were checking on something.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, five others and above is intentional to ensure that quality is maintained. To ensure that quality is maintained, since all concepts in the books are peer-reviewed by all others. Further, the others are drawn from all levels of schools, and I think I've mentioned that, and this is to ensure that capability of different learners is catered for. For junior school, for instance, you realize that for junior school, others from university have been incorporated, they've been introduced, because there's that understanding that this from junior school, these learners will be going to senior school. And therefore, there's that need to have a smooth transition between junior school and senior school. And remember, these people that are going to senior school, when they go to university, they'll be taught about how to teach junior school and how to teach the senior school. So that's why the Bureau, in its wisdom, thought that now let's have people from one or two people from the university to help us develop this content so that at the end, it's going to have a smooth content transition between junior and senior school and all the way to the university. So this is very important, teachers, because I can assure you that these people sit down several hours. Actually, I can bet and say that for one book, from the other side, they meet almost 21 days, not less than 21 days, looking at that content day and night to make sure that the and it's accurate. So that's why authorship is very key to KLB. I don't know whether maybe I'm brought back, but I can still proceed. But are they back? Can I? Are teachers there? Anybody? Yes.
Prof.
Yes.
You had ran through your slides up to the end.
Not yet. Not yet. I don't know whether I can't see the whether
Let me ask them to screen for you the slides. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Continue screening your slides. Sorry. Something I knew of a small technicality.
Yes.
Let me ask them to screen your slides.
Yes, please. Can you see?
Yeah.
I've shared from my end. Is it visible?
Yes. Very good.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. So, so that's about authorship that I've mentioned, and I don't need to go back to it again because I've also mentioned as I was introducing. The other key salient feature about social studies book is the key points. After each and every learning outcome, it is imperative that there is that section of key points. Teachers, we know that the way the CBC is designed, I keep on repeating that, is that it's activity-based. And also, we are also guided that at least 30 to 50% should be content. But how do we bring content that learners will grasp, and at the same time, we need to have activities. So from those many activities that are given, maybe to give an example, you may realize that somebody has been told to identify evidences of continental drift in an activity. And then they are told, maybe there are some two given, and then they are told identify others, read and research, and give others. Now, how do they know that they've done the right thing? At the end of that learning outcome, there will be that section of key points. And these are summarized points at every learning outcome. And these are meant as a time-saving strategies. Of course, they've done their research from books, they've done their digital research, but now to save on time, for them to be able to get to those points very fast, these points are given, they are very short and precise and in bullet form for quick drafts. So it's not a paragraph, it's not like the normal books, but it's just bullet points, short and precise. And this point serves as revision notes. So each and every point, you'll find that each and every learning outcome, it ends with key points. And I want you to look at the image that is there. It's an image under key points. It was picked from something on peace, and still talking about peace initiative. And below it, it gives us these efforts are embraced at the community level to help in, and those issues are brought out very clearly in simplified manner so that learners can be able to grasp. But intentionally, I also took I printed this screenshot of this page with the intention of taking the last bit, which is the assessment exercise, because that's what I'm coming to next. That other than just having key points, you realize that we end up with the key points, but then we go straight to assessment exercise because we've completed explaining, we give you the summary points, then we come to assessment exercise. And that takes me to the next slide, which is a slide on assessment exercise. Again, our books have assessment exercise at the end of every substrand and strand. We ensure that, and this is aimed at assessing the learner's understanding of the content before proceeding to the next strand. That's the reasoning behind. We need to make sure that before the learner proceed to the next slide, at least they understand what they learned in the standard they are coming from. And that can only be done by having some questions, giving them an assessment exercise that they are supposed to do. As they do this exercise, they have to keep on referring to what they've done. They have to keep on referring to the activities and also to the key points for them to be able to answer these questions. And also, these assessment exercises help teachers in identifying knowledge gaps that requires further attention. Because as they try to ask these learners answer, some issues will come out. They may even as they answer, they raise a question to the teacher and say that, what about this? So this will help the learner identify the knowledge gap that requires further attention. Remember, we are telling our learners to keep on revising on digital resources and print resources. They research. Some issues may come out that now the teacher will be able to realize that, oh, fine, this issue need to be emphasized. This issue to be looked at in this manner through the assessment exercise. And also, they encourage active participation. All learners are supposed to do this assessment exercise. And since they know at the end they'll be asked these questions, they have to answer these questions. They have to write down the questions and answers. This will encourage them to be active in class. And it encourages active participation and engagement with materials in order to enhance learning and retention. So not only being active in class and participating in class activities, but also it makes learner engage with the materials, engage with the content that is there so that it will enhance their retention. As they engage with the content, they retain their attention. And I have an excerpt from the book. And this shows the assessment exercise that has been given. You can see, and again, intentionally, we put this image capturing the green section, management and conservation of environment. This is very intentional to show that one learning outcome has ended at with the assessment exercise. You can see the questions are there, but immediately after, before you go to the next learning outcome, which is management and conservation of environment, the one that was there, the presiding learning outcome
Professor,
at the
Professor,
end.
You
Yes?
are muted
Yes?
temporarily. Can you go back kidogo?
Okay. Now, I've said that we've done it intentionally, that to have this screenshot here, that it shows that 4.3 management and conservation environment, to show that the learning outcome that has just ended has ended with an assessment exercise. Then from there, we go to management and conservation of environment. At the end of this, there's an assessment exercise again. So each and every learning outcome has got this assessment exercise. Now, another approach that has made these KLB books very, very good is the strict adherence to curriculum design. We are lucky that even as we write these materials, when the KICD calls for workshops, they call all that's for workshop. They request the bureau to get people to go and listen to what is expected. One thing about the bureau, that is KLB, is that they're not selfish. They don't take themselves only there, but they also invite others and tell them, we are going to be taught about, there's a workshop on social studies. Can you join? And they may send 2 to 3 others to go and listen to what the KICD, the changes that are there, what is requested of them, so that as they go sit down and start writing, the first thing that comes out is, this is what is expected of KICD. KICD requires this to be framed like this, so that the others write from an informed point of view. Where in doubt, the editor will always consult with the subject secretary for social studies. They'll call, we are in the process of writing and this aspect is coming out. How is it supposed to be approached? And therefore, this makes sure that whatever is being done in this book is in strict adherence to curriculum designs. And they make sure that they follow the scope of the materials. Sometimes you may look at some books and you find that the materials that are there, they are way above, simply because maybe they're using their older books and they find that this material is very good, we don't need to drop it, but the scope now does not require that material. So KLB social studies will always follow the scope of the materials that is provided by KICD. They also integrate PCIs, core competencies and values in the activities. These activities are structured such that the PCIs, pertinent to contemporary issues, the core competence and values are embedded in it. And when you go and they are more exemplified when you take the teacher's guide. You take the teacher's guide, our teacher's guide will clearly tell you how PCIs is being brought out in each and every activity in this book. So, and also the book has adhered to rationalized section, and therefore the books have been revised. It can be costly, but the bureau puts a lot of emphasis and a lot of interest in making sure that they give the most revised book. And you may realize, and teachers, that's why I say that's the most sourced after reference material. If you look at the books, the KLB books and social studies, you may find that these books are revised. They can be revised even after 2 years. They can be revised as frequent as possible, as new information as need be, because as you read and you realize that maybe this thing need to be changed and you give that feedback, then the KLB, as Mr. Koech introduced, they have a printing department with them. They are able to revise this book so that they have the most updated materials and correct materials. As we know, human is to error. An error may be found in the book, but once it's detected, it's corrected immediately, and therefore that's why you find they are revised frequently to ensure that the books are up to standard. So there's that teacher's guide. It's a comprehensive book, very comprehensive book, and this explain how to ensure that the PCI core competencies and values are achieved. And finally, colleagues, teachers, I mentioned that KLB books and social study book is an authority on its own. Why? Why so? KLB social study series is the most widely used reference materials by all at whichever level. I heard when Adakai mentioned that some of the people have been involved in NEC activities some time back. And he was telling us, and we've seen that as also as a teacher, I know that this is one of the books that is so much on demand. It's very common to hear educators say, what does KLB say? For instance, they're supposed to give 7 points somewhere, or they're supposed to give 3 points. And they're supposed to list several, in the marking scheme, there's the examiners or the teachers who are involved, they're supposed to list several answers, not only 3, but maybe to give 5, 6 answers. And some section, it's very hard to get some of these options. You'll hear that question, what does KLB say? And if an answer is found in KLB book, they'll say that, that's correct. That's correct. Have that answer. That's correct. So it's an authority on its own. KLB is an authority on its own. Occasionally, here some books, as they try to look for answers, and they find an answer in a given book, and they say, no, this one I doubt. I'm not sure about this author. I'm not sure about this publisher. So let's take that with a pinch of salt. But anything found in KLB social studies book or KLB books in general is an authority, and people go for it. So answers found in KLB social studies are generally accepted by all teachers. And I believe since you teach in class, you find that you rely so much on KLB, although I know there could be, but KLB is one of the sources. This is attributed to the authorship approach of the Bureau. I mentioned that because the authorship is not one author, but several others. And where maybe there's one author, they are phasing out that, and they want to have as many others as possible to make sure that information, the information given is standard and is factual. We are very careful not to have factual errors. Even the books that are being produced now, if there is any iota of doubt, it will be researched to make sure there are no factual errors in social studies book. So when searching for accurate and authoritative reference materials, KLB is the most widely used. And I've given that, we have this image there. I want teachers to look at that image. You can imagine this is an image that is in a textbook. If you look at that photo, the way it is, the image, the map of Limuru, it is exactly what you'll get when you take a map, a topographic map elsewhere. Why? Because when these maps are being developed, we just are being considered to be used in the book, we get the best cartographers. We get the best cartographer. Sometimes very expensive, but we need to have the actual information, so that when the learner looks at this, it's not blur. It's as is in a topo map. So we get the best of cartographers, they sit with the others, they help get these map are thought through so that even the question that follows up to date. And the reason why we want these books to be, we always strive to make the KLB an authority is because when you have such a map, we are considering a learner who is in a very remote area whereby they don't even access the maps. We tell them to use digital resources and they must do map work and they don't have these maps. Where do they get the maps? We make sure that the maps that we give are comprehensive and as accurate as possible. Actually, these are a very accurate map for Limuru. If you take Limuru map and you compare this, it's very accurate because we use the best cartographers. So, and with us teachers, this is why KLB Social Studies is a book to reckon with. And with that, I want to thank you very much for listening. And now I hand over to Bramwell, maybe for question and answer section. Bramwell, back to you.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Professor, for your great presentation. That was wow. Asante sana. I'll give you your congrats later once we finish with the teachers. In the meantime, I may want also to get back to Bramwell. He had a small presentation to give. If he's not ready yet, he can give someone to run over the map walk, no, not the map walk, but the atlas. But maybe before the atlas, Bramwell, back to you if you have your presentation available. Even as we wait for Professor. Oh, sorry.
Yes, please.
Professor.
Yes. Yes.
We can answer the questions as Adakai. Adakai will just crash in. Once he's ready, he will crash into the question and answer session. Eh?
Yes.
One question is from Mr. Matthew Yego. Matthew Yego from Nakuru, thank you for being a loyal participant. We feel you. We are grateful. He's asking, there are two questions. There is a question which sounds combined, that he asked the question like this. He says, my question is, now that the content or syllabus learning areas in junior schools, like internal structure of the earth, is in grade 7, which was previously in Form 1, map work in grade 8, previously in Form 2, which content will be dealt with in senior schools as long as CBC is concerned? Question 2, I need clarity if and only if junior teachers or tutors in the near future will transit with their learners to senior schools. We may not answer that part. That is for TSC. But let's look back into the first part of the question.
Thank you, Mr. Koech and Mr. Yego for that question. For sure, some materials have been, as KACD do their scope and sequencing of the design, they look at which materials to go to which grade. And this is a process that they take about 15 days just for sequencing to know, to rationalize, to make sure that the strand or strand X, which was in Form 1, now is in grade 7. Now, what happens is that let me give 9 for sorry. I'm just giving an example for him to understand, to make it easier. If you look at, for instance, maybe I might be a bit ahead, but this is a very classical in my mind. If you look at grade 9, for example, they teach, they'll be teaching about faulting. But when you go now to the next senior level, because it's asking what happens, if you go to senior level, faulting will not be taught again because it has already been covered in grade 9. And you know, social studies is compulsory. So faulting will be taught in grade 9, but you go to senior school, with the grade 10, they'll be taught folding. Faulting will not be covered again because this curriculum is spiral. What was taught, if you're looking at some aspect, if you covered some aspect in junior school, you're not going to repeat it in senior school. It's spiral. So what was taught, if map work, again, what is happening with the design is that, for instance, again, let me use grade 9. You realize that grade 9, when it comes to map work in grade 9 looks at interpreting physical features. It deals with interpreting physical features. But you go to grade 10, physical features is not there anymore. Grade 10 looks at human activities, reading and interpreting human activities. There's nothing on physical features again because it was covered in grade 9. It will be covered in grade 9. So grade 9 covers physical features. Grade 10 covers human environment. So that's how it will be.
Thank you.
Hope I've answered.
Yeah, you've answered. Thank you so very much. There is a question which was asked by Robert Karisa from Mombasa. He asked, in MapWork, we have clustered pollination or population. He said you have clustered pollination and the dense population. They use the word pollination. What is the difference between the two types of population, or are they the same?
Which
Thank
one?
you. Clustered pollination. He said we have clustered pollination and dense population. Did he mean clustered population? Most likely meant clustered population. He was asking what's the difference, but he said pollination. I want to believe there was a typo that he should have said population. Clustered population and dense population. Clustered population and dense population.
Clustered population, they are distinct. There's distinct characteristics of population, because clustered, you may have a place like there's a mining area, a quarry or something, or a town that is coming up. People may tend to cluster there around a certain resource, maybe water resource, maybe there's a borehole. People will tend to cluster around that, and that becomes a clustered population. But when we talk of dense, we are looking of an example, a place like Vihiga, whereby the population density is over 80 persons per square kilometer, 150 persons per square kilometer. They are not clustered together, but each and every, Muranga, another case, you find that in an acre, there are like 6 homesteads within, and that cuts across the entire region. That is dense population. If that means Muranga, Vihiga, we have dense population, but you go to arid areas like Turkana, the population is clustered. There are so many people, but clustered together. So the two are completely different.
Now, thank you, Professor. There is another one here by Abdur Gedi. Now, I'll answer for Abdur Gedi, then I'll give you another one. Abdur Gedi, our books are indicated grade 1 to 6, or you are using the grade system which is prescribed by the curriculum design of KICD. The KICD has not used your abbreviation accelerated education program, which could be used for another country. We do not intend, if we intend to write for that particular curriculum, we will use those terminologies of that curriculum. Once we establish there is sufficient group of users for a program, for an education program or curriculum which reads accelerated education program, we may write. Once we establish, you could share with us the numbers and guide us so that we do have publications to that market. For now, we have publications under KICD program and KICD curriculum design, which requires us to grade our levels as grade PP1, PP2, grade 1, 2, 3, all the way. Abdul, you are asking, we hope KLB can take this into consideration to better align resources with the unique structure of AEP schools. Share with us information about AEP schools, and we see availability of information that can be shared out. So in publication. The next one, which I want Professor to do, is from Harriet. She's asking, Harriet says, I'm Harriet from Viga. We will be glad if this question will be answered for me and others. This is of my interest and math, or for my interest and maths. I wish to ask others on the topic of people and population that most subtopics were eliminated, especially grade 5 and 6. That is people and in Eastern Africa. The reason why they came, and importance, when you go to grade 7 work, you will find we are talking about people in Africa. The topics too scrapped. These topics used to make learning live. Why eliminate them? I may quickly tell Harriet, as Professor will confirm, that is why the curriculum was rationalized. This is the meaning of rationalization, removing some strand or substrand for purposes to be represented elsewhere. Professor, confirm or so guide on that kind of question. Thank you.
Thank you, Bwana Koech and Harriet, for asking the question. Remember, the books are written based on the design, curriculum designs. You cannot write anything outside the design. And actually, if you write anything outside the design, your book will not be approved by KICD. And as I mentioned, it takes about 14 days for people in KICD to sit down and rationalize this information. I remember a friend of mine, when they were rationalizing and deleting some aspect and adding others and merging others, they sat for 21 days just rationalizing, looking at what, and some of this information, why you find some of these topics are removed, maybe they realize this topic can be handled maybe at a later level rather than where it is. But just to go straight to the point is that the book is based on the design provided by KICD. So KLB follows strictly what KICD requires. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Professor Harriet. The content was removed because of rationalization. And once you pick on the curriculum design, you will enjoy teaching less or more. So more of our content in a given area or less of content in a given area. I'd like, before we pick on officers or teachers who have lifted their hands, I want to pose more questions. One, Thomas Ndege says, reduce the number of strands per numbers of learners activities per strand. And once more, we respond to the curriculum design. That is what regionalization has given and guided. We respond like that, and that is what makes a book quality. Quality means it is reflecting what the curriculum design says. That was to Ndege, Thomas.
And maybe just to add on what Mr. Koechi said about Tundege, the reason why these activities, at least we have three, is to make each and every learner taken care of. We have fast learners, or those are different able, they can grasp very fast, but we also have those who requires to, to be developed slowly until they grasp. So we are doing a book that caters for all types of learners. Thank you.
Quickly, let me roll over to the officers whose hands are up. One, Bramwell Wafula, I'm not ignoring you. I've given you opportunity. Wafula, ask your question. Let me ask someone to give you the rights. Belio, I'm inviting those ones who are lifting their hands. Wafula, Bramwell Wafula. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I've been granted an opportunity to ask. Thank you, the panelists. These are very noble exercises that you are running through in our manner to gain more experience on handling the junior and the rest of the CBC journey. My big question is here. I teach social studies, and I wondered that the past NEC examination that was nationwide, you find out that NEC posted the exams which were structured, but when we will come to the end of grade 6, they are given exams based on the choosing the options A, B, C, D. So my wish and my desires is that why can't NEC through the KICD perhaps they agree so that we just have structured examinations right from grade 3 or grade 4 to grade 6, because we see that these learners, when they proceed to junior school, they are rooted on structured examinations, but they are actually mixed up where the other exams are given choices for the learners to choose. You see now that perhaps in NEC grade 6, you see the integrated subjects like agri-nutrition. You find that some questions are not balanced. You find out perhaps they dwell more in agriculture or nutrition. So you find out learners are getting themselves in a mixed up, whereby they are given now to choose between A, B, C, D, and other exams, like whatever we did before the end of the term 3. It was, structured. How I wish is that at least you come up with a consensus. You just let the grade 6 examination to be structured so that we have that consistency in learners handling these exams, because we get it actually rough to teach learners on how to shade again answers just like 844, and yet we had just had an examination which was structured. Then finally, I teach social in grade 8, and I also wish to appreciate that integration or matching of social ethics subject and social studies, it was done very well. For there, at least you get my bonga points. But now I wish to ask, between KLB publishers and is it Mountain Top Publishers, who is the official publisher of social studies? Because I tend to use a different one from what I'm following right now. I rest my case. Thank you, Mr. Justin.
Let me come in with this one. Let me respond to this.
Yes. After this, you're responding, yeah? Then you come in with the presentation. Thank you. Respond.
Well, Bwana Wafula, thank you for your question. Well, first you asked about the structure for exam. Now, as you are aware, NEC recently piloted exams for different levels. As recently as this term, or rather third term, there was an exam that was done. Prof, you will correct me. Was it in grade 8 or 7? Eh? The one that was piloted, the summative. Now you realize that the exam that NEC recently piloted was a mixed, was both structured and both multiple choice questions. Now that is the mandate of the NEC, that the ones that advise the ministry, or rather advise KICD on the structure of the exams. So as we are speaking right now, we are still waiting for the agreed format of the summative exam. In fact, as I'm told, the agreed format was to come, I think was last week. I don't know how it has delayed, but we are expecting the final agreed format of the summative exam. For the formative exam, which is done within the school, largely most schools have been doing what is designed as structured, which is still in order. So the two set of exams, summative, I mean structured and multiple choice, they're well in order, because even the exam that NEC piloted recently, it had both. So whether you are using structured, you are using multiple choice, they are well within what NEC has prescribed, because going forward, we are going to use both formats, the structured and the multiple choice. They're all going to be used, because even the summative exam itself has both the structured and both the multiple choice. So Malim, don't worry, because eventually NEC will give us the final approved paper that is going to be used as a model. Now, to spice you on this, in fact, as we are speaking, perhaps I shouldn't say this, Bana Koech, but we are already also perhaps ahead of the rest. I can assure you that by January, you shall have a standard paper designed by KLB, because we are also trying to come up with the revision books. So by January, we shall have all those model test papers structured, addressing the structured questions, the multiple choice. So we'll have a book that addresses just the assessment and the revision for that matter. So Malim, I can assure you that we are trying. Even KICD, they will tell you they are trying. When the CBC came, nobody knew what was at stake. So along the way, we are improving day by day. Even NEC, that's why they were doing pilot, because they were not sure. So up to now, I can tell you there is no standard paper that has come out. But in few weeks, I think we shall have now a standard paper.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Adakai Bramwell. I want to usher in the next presenter on what you've lined up on the areas which were rationalized, and we've been assured that they have been reflected in our books. Is it you who is coming on board?
Yes.
Kindly mount your presentation.
Well, I don't know if you are able to see my screen from your end. I just want to show you something, just a sneak preview of grade 4. This is the community leadership. Are you able to see?
You can expand. Are you referring to the one 5.6, or you are referring to the table grade 4 SST changes? You are referring to the section of the book where we interpreted the changes.
Community leadership, yes.
Okay, fine. Yes.
I just want to demonstrate, using this. This is one topic that was rationalized. Now, you realize previously, teachers as you are using this grade 4, this area on leaders in the community, it was so open. It was so open that it was subject to your own interpretation. So many books, could go their own way. You couldn't tell now, when you are talking of community leaders, which community leaders are we narrowing? So now in the rationalized curriculum,
it's 11:30.
In the rationalized curriculum, we have given a scope. I'm trying to adjust my screen so that I'll be able to. Now, in the rationalized curriculum, we have given a scope of the community leaders that learners at grade 4 are expected to learn. So the first category of the community leaders that learners are supposed to learn are religious leaders. As you can see, the way we have brought them out, the religious leaders across the spectrum, Islam as Christianity, across the mainstream churches, you see. So the religious leaders is one group that learners are supposed to learn at this level. Then another group is village administrators. Like for instance, here we brought out these are village administrators from Mandera County. Then we also have ward administrators. Learners at this level are also supposed to know about the ward administrators. Then Another category of community leaders at this level are clan elders. Then the Nyumba Kumi leaders. So you realize previously, we did not give a scope on the extent to which these community leaders are supposed to be taught. So now we have given a scope. KICD has given a clear scope on the extent to which the learners are at this level, because this is grade 4 about my county. So the learners are supposed to learn about religious leaders, village administrators, ward admin, clan elders, and Nyumba Kumi leaders. And you can see we have already addressed in our book. So you don't even need to refer to curriculum design. Once you have this, you are home and dry. Another area also, which I can also pinpoint, there was a topic previously called trade in the county. Now, this one entirely has been expunged. So it's no longer there. So trade in the county has been expunged. Then there is also another topic. Let me just take you on county government in Kenya. Now, previously, under county government in Kenya, the curriculum that was rolled out first, had an aspect on sources of revenue in the county government. Sources of revenue in the county government. As you can see, if I take you through just this topic on county governments in Kenya, the first learning outcome, role of members of county assembly, you can see, importance of county government. So that one has also been expunged. On the sources of revenue for the county government has been entirely expunged. So why this? We are trying to lessen the burden for the learner, because we realize that at some point, these learners were being given so much content that they cannot handle at this level. So after deliberation, KICD toned down. That's why some of these learning outcomes were expunged, some topics were entirely removed. So if you have this book, you don't even need to use a curriculum design, because everything has been clearly addressed. And you can see we even have summary. These are some of the things when we are doing rationalization, we're trying to improve, because you realize the books we had at first, they were just activities. But now at some point, we realize you cannot just have a book that has only activities. At least teachers need some flesh. That's why you find after every learning outcome, we have something like key points. These ones now to reinforce the activities that are there. So this is some of the aspects we were adding when you were doing the rationalization. So when you see key points, this will help you to reinforce, so that it's not just about you taking learners through the activities. This also helps you as a teacher. Even when you go to class, you are also well prepared. You don't go to class, and it seems like learners are more prepared than you are. So when you have this content, it gives you also an upper hand as a teacher. When you go to class, you have content to give to the learner, so that learners don't surprise you. So across our books, we have tried as much to balance activities and content, so that we give it more value. Lastly, Bwana Koech,
Yes, sir.
I can mention something also on grade 7 for JSS.
Before you go there, there's a table I saw you that is a table indicating the strand and substrand. Were you showing what was dropped or what was added? There's a table before you expanded this one.
That's what I wanted to
I
share.
wish you can show that table so that teachers can appreciate that all the rationalization took place the way it was desired, and they are represented in the books as indicated by Professor, maybe that table particularly would be important if teachers can just see, because there may not be a lot of time, because we want to hear, yes, that table, we want to hear their responses. This yes, this would be the table that shows the various areas which were, and the content is what you've just been mentioning. Just for
Wanakweja, I'm struggling to expand it.
So you are saying this is the table
Yes,
that contains what has been rationalized.
Exactly. Like for instance, this is grade 8.
Yes.
Just a sneak preview of grade 8, for instance. I don't know if you are able to see from your end.
It's too small.
Let me try to.
Good. That is the point.
Hey. Yes, are you able to see?
Yes, that is visible.
Okay. Now, for instance, this is grade 8 social studies. Previously, we had strand 1, we had natural and historic built environment. Now, this was the strand, or rather the theme. And underneath, we had map reading and interpretation, weather and climate, vegetation in Africa, historical sites and monuments in Africa. Now, at the same time, remember grade 8, we had life skills and we had social studies as separate learning areas. So what happened at this level, we tried now to merge the two, both life skill and social studies coming together to make one learning area. So what happened in the revised or rather rationalized area, the strand 1, which is, we became now social studies and personal. Just a minute. No, I think I rather compare with it was moved. You see, initially, this was strand 1, natural and historic built environment was strand 1. But in the revised or rationalized curriculum, strand 1 became strand 4, which is natural and historic built environment. The substrands are now 4: map reading and interpretation, weather and climate, vegetation in Africa, historical sites and monuments.
You've disappeared, Mr. Adakai. Bramwell, you've disappeared, but that demonstration gives teachers confidence. Yes, thank you. Come on.
My tech guy is trying to bring back the slides. Yes.
Bramwell, oh yes, can continue.
Okay. So you can see now in the rationalized, initially, let me take you back. Initially, there were 4: map reading, weather and climate, vegetation, Africa, historical sites. But now this topic, or rather this theme, now it is under theme 4 in the rationalized. The substance are the same, so nothing much was changed. So strand 2, initially people and the population in the old one. So underneath, we had scientific theory about human origin, early civilization, sociocultural diversity and inclusion, peaceful conflict resolution, trans-Saharan slave population, and photograph work. This was under people and population. Now let's see in the rationalized, what changed? So scientific theory about human origin retained, early civilization retained, trans-Saharan slave trade retained, population growth in Africa retained, photograph work retained. So which one was dropped? Sociocultural diversity and inclusion. Then peaceful conflict resolution in the family was also dropped. So you realize two substances were dropped in the rationalized curricula. Now, resources and economic activities. This was strand 3 initially. Now, this one, let's see where it was taken. It was taken to strand 5 in the current dispensation. So, previously, it was strand 3, and there were agriculture activities, sustainable resource utilization. So in the revised, or rather rationalized, which is now under strand 5, we have sustainable resource utilization. It was retained. It's now only 1. It's only 1. Let's go to another strand, which is strand 4, developments, political developments and governance. Now, this one has been taken to strand 6. Now, previously we had these topics: colonization and the liberation struggle in Africa, the Constitution of Kenya, democratic principles and practices, human rights, African diaspora, global citizenship, global governance. They were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, in the new, rationalized, there are 6. So 1 has been dropped. So there is Constitution of Kenya, democratic principles, human rights, African diaspora, citizenship, and governance. So you realize that initially, like like global governance has been changed to governance. So we no longer look at it from the global perspective, but rather just the governance aspect. And then which one has been dropped? I think is global citizenship. Yes, global citizenship has changed to citizenship. Let's see which one was dropped. Anyone who can spot which one was dropped? But you see, initially there were 7, now there are 6. So essentially, in summary, there are 8 strands from the initial 4. There are 37 from the initial 20. Now you remember, now you realize that when these two areas were brought together, some had to give way for the other. At the end, social studies account for 79%, while life skills account for 21% in the merged curricula. So in summary, and this is for grade, even grade 7, even grade 9, life skill content were collapsed into social studies. So when you have a social studies book, remember has aspects of life skills in it. So don't just look at it as social studies. Of course, the title is social studies, but remember has aspects of life skills. So back to you, Banakoech. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Bramwell. Our participants, teachers from Kenya and education stakeholders, the reason why we felt it was important for you to have a look onto that table is to confirm to you that what Professor prosecuted early in the morning was well captured, because this is how we pulled the information from curriculum designs, tabled in the manner that Editor Bramwell Adakai has prosecuted, to the effect that it was translated into the books that you are using. The books, therefore, have been rationalized. That is the message. The content which was prosecuted and displayed and explained by Professor has been shown that they were sourced from this kind of background, from the curriculum design, which we interpreted in that manner, as indicated by our editor. Mr. Bramwell, kindly have one of our editors, authors, to go over the atlas briefly for 5 minutes or so, or 10 minutes, over our atlas, before I get back to the participants' questions. Our valued participants, I hope you are able to see. Sorry, I thought I shared the screen on the atlas. Is someone watching? Bramwell, are you seeing the screen?
Yes.
Atlas screen?
Yes. That's the atlas, yes.
That is the atlas. That is the atlas which Kenya Literature Bureau has published to support the course material for interpreting curriculum design. The visionary grade 4, 5, 6 is a course material that you use to interpret the curriculum. The top scholar grade 4, grade 7, 8, 9 is a course material that you use to interpret the curriculum. We do have, therefore, our atlas, Active Learning, KLB Active Learning CBC Atlas. The atlas, which is activity-based, is one of the biggest resource materials we have at Kenya Literature Bureau. One which brings out the various principles or tenets of CBC, the competencies, the values, the linkages, and so forth, in the way, in an atlas manner. On the cover page particularly, you'd be able to see an illustration, a photograph of a fisherman using rafters to fish through spearing, a method for fishing. This is a competency, self-efficacy. He has learned, perfected, to the point that it is used to acquire a result, self-efficacy. One of the most expensive competency to be brought around. And this is what our team has done. And I want to indulge all participants present here at the meeting or training to have a sample of this book and use it to interpret the curriculum, to support the interpretation or teaching of social studies. It is activity-based. No wonder it is called active learning. It is activity-based. It covers all work up to until you reach Africa, when we are now handing over to the junior. So we have some work of the junior school included in the active learning atlas. Mindless when it is indicated for primary schools, because it was largely for grade 4, 5, 6. But when 7 content was also, during rationalization, 7 content is present, the grade 6 part of it is present in grade 7, and others brought back. We have grade 7 well covered for this book. This is one of the best reads. And I wanted one facilitator or even Bramwell to breathe, or one author to breathe to this read. Bramwell? Bramwell?
Yes.
Can we have one of our authors breathe to this book? Speak to this book. Yes.
Well, as you've stated, this is our KLB Active Learning CBC Atlas for primary schools. Now, I think for a long time we've never had such an atlas in recent years in the country, because the atlas we largely have, they are more of reference materials. But we've never had an atlas that interacts with the learners, that directly communicates with the learner, so that it keeps the learner engaged. So when we did research, we realized that there was a gap, and we decided to fill that gap. So we came up with this CBC Atlas for primary schools, and this CBC is already approved. In fact, I can tell it scored the highest marks ever in the history of evaluation of Atlas. It scored the highest marks. Now, you can tell that even from the page I'm just sharing now, as we are even speaking right now, the political dispensation that just changed the other day, it's already up to date. There is, I doubt if there is any book that has already this kind of information. So that tells you that this atlas speaks directly to the learner, and it engages the learner directly. Why am I saying that? It has activity or questions that now keeps the learner on tool. Yeah, like if you on this, after learner has gone through, you know, the concept, now you start, the learner should ask themselves, like here, find out the meaning of autonomy. So you see, we try to bring out the activities within the atlas, so that it is not just about pictorial learner going through the content. We try to keep that learner engaged. So this atlas is the latest. I'm saying the latest because the kind of maps we have used, they have used the latest demarcations. Remember, the survey of Kenya does the survey. They come up with the maps. But remember, boundaries keep changing every other day. Like if you remember, even last week, there was a new sub-county that was created. So such information may not be alive to many people, but the atlas we have has some of the most latest or recent demarcations, all the latest sub-counties that were created. So if you have this, I can assure you, you will never lack any content. As a history, as a geography teacher, you must have a backup. And this is the point. This is the place, the stopping point. This is the place to be as a history teacher. As a teacher, you need to have a backup. And this atlas is a resource for you. So I want to urge teachers, try to interact with this atlas, try to pick up a few things. And of course, the content keep changing. Like I've given you an indication of creation of boundaries. This is something that keeps changing. So we'll keep updating every other time. But I can tell you, this is the latest and the most resourceful atlas. And it has scored the highest marks in the history of evaluation. I was talking to the subject secretary and was telling me in their history of evaluation of such material, they have never encountered such. So teachers, this is the point. Make a point to ensure that you have this resource in your school for your students, for your learners in school. At least have this as a resource. Back to you, Banakwech.
Thank you so very much, Bramwell, for that information. Teachers, I want to appreciate you sincerely for getting a chance to know that we have a book of that nature. I want to mention, therefore, before I get back again to the question and answer session, I want to insist that Kenya Literature Bureau has published for you all the resources that you require to make you the best you can be. I want to give you that assurance that we at Kenya Literature Bureau has published for you what you require to make you stand out.
Okay,
The social studies series is available at your nearest store. The Top Scholar series is nearest at your nearest store. Adakai, can someone confirm to me that the screen is reading Top Scholar or Visionary?
It is Top Scholar.
Thank you. Top Scholar grade 7 and 8 is available at your nearest store, just to ensure that you are sufficiently equipped. We have Top Scholar grade 9 is the read, which is available for your picking and to make you an excellent teacher, as explained and clearly prosecuted by Professor. And lastly, the Atlas, as I've mentioned. Those are resources which are quality in content. They are quality in content, being that it has reflected the CBC syllabus in terms of competencies, in terms of values, and so forth. They are also very affordable. Today, I want to confirm to you teachers that there is no book today in town that compares in price with Kenya Literature Bureau publications, especially for school use. For school use, and largely all of them, we have books which are affordable. And that is why you need to buy and patronize Kenya Literature Bureau publications. Availability. Kenya Literature Bureau uses the bookshop route in availing the books. We use the bookshop model. We do not prefer to supply directly the way government is doing to every school. We prefer to use the bookshop model. And therefore, from your nearest bookshop, inquire for our books, the Rationalized, Social Studies, and the Atlas, the Social Studies series and the Atlas for Social Studies course in grade and junior school. Our books, I want to say, and I've been appealing, that our books are quality to that extent, and many of you were not informed sufficiently as you are forming or building your book list, which you issued to your parents. I'm happy. I've been called by a few teachers, amongst you, who asked me that they have confirmed what they really wanted and they had missed. They have recirculated the list of the books to be bought by parents through bookshop, through the book list. They have recorrected because they were not informed sufficiently. I want to ask the social studies team who are here also, please go out of your way, ask your parents to get top scholar grade 7, 8, 9, active learning atlas as reference material for social studies, visionary grade 4, 5, 6 for your learners, for your teachers, and for your school, for you to stand out as a great learning center. I want to beseech you, let us support Kenya Literature Bureau. It is the only one farm you own by extension because it is owned by government. This is your farm. Support Kenya Literature Bureau by buying a copy, buying 10, making sure that every learner has a copy of Kenya Literature Bureau. As a course book, if it must be left out, let it be as a supplementary read, regrettably. But it should be, by all means, a course book. And I want to beseech all of you, therefore, for that matter, prefer your teachers, Kenya Literature Bureau, Social Studies. You've heard Professor execute this mention sufficiently how great this read is. Now I want you to appreciate, therefore, this book and this series, grade 9, grade 7, grade 8, 4, 5, 6, and the Active Learning Atlas. This is a great read. We want to ask you to stand up for yourself, stand up for Kenya Literature Bureau. I want to say up to that point, before I invite Madam Mukui to take on the questions which are being asked directly, I want to come to Eric Okibeni Nemwell. Nemwell is from Kenyanya, Kisii County. He says that is good elaboration from Prof. The problem we as teachers, mostly for junior secondary school, is that most learners are unable to read, leave alone understand the concept. The learners, sadly, says from his neighborhood, Kenyanya, and Kenyanya, by the way, doesn't have a robust bookshop. Consider having a bookshop in Kenyanya. I've been to Kenyanya market, or even Etago. We do not have a robust bookshops, or even Ogambo up here, Ogembo up here. We do not have robust bookshop for your learners to access reading material. Sad though, so that is a very sad situation. Kisii and Kenyanya sub-county received fund for KPIL. Please, Mwalimu Eric and others from that neighborhood, utilize the fund for KPIL in reading, to develop reading skills so that we enhance understanding. So we feel you, but still be happy that we've given you books which are written in simple language for effective communication. That not be a big challenge, boss. We as your company, Kenya Literature Bureau, have done books in simple language for effective communication. He further says another challenge is that some public schools do not give learners books they will lose, given that they may lose or destroy them. Sad though, but even when they are within the school precincts, let the learners make the best of the books. That is a very rainy area. That is a good concern for the school, but unfortunate that it can, of course, deny access to books. Even then, within the school time, let them utilize our good books written in simple language, very illustrative, reading the CBC content. However, if father says learners are supposed to interact with the books regularly, well, I've heard you. I want therefore to say we felt you, but we are saying you've received the CBC books. You received the KPL money and utilize that to build reading culture in school. I want to hand over this window to Madam Mukui to invite members, including Isaac Wesonga, Faustin Kioko, among others, in giving their questions, fronting their questions. Mukui, come on board. Mukui has stepped out. May I request Isaac Wesonga to be given an opportunity to ask his question. Isaac Wesonga. And Isaac Mike. Mr. Belio, give Isaac Wesonga mic. Isaac.
Bwana Koech, you are muted. You are muted. We can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I was calling on Isaac Wesonga. Sorry. I was calling on Wesonga to raise his question. But before Isaac Wesonga, I want to answer Mercy Chepto from Bureti Kericho. She says Moran only and mountain top books have been supplied in school. Our book was not nominated for school delivery, for school supply. Not because of poverty, weakness in content, not poverty, weakness in content, but for other reasons. The professor would tell you the marks this book scored should make you worry why you are not using it. Anyhow, this book is available through bookshops in Kericho, including in Litein. We have Masterpiece, we have Rejoy, we have Lasoy, we have also in Kericho, we have Kericho Booksellers, Stationers, Westside, Bethany, among others. In Bomet, similarly, we have other bookshops. So Mercy books are available for your readership. Thank you. And can Wesonga be given opportunity? Belio. Wesonga. I've unmuted Wesonga, go ahead. I've unmuted Wesonga. Okay. Austin Kyoko. I've unmuted you. Sorry.
Thank you. I'm Faustin Kyoko.
Yes, Faustin. Go ahead.
I'm Faustin Kyoko from St. Joseph's Boarding Primary School at Mbiuni, Machakos County. My question is, and before I ask a question, first of all, I would like to appreciate that your books, we have been using them, have been of good use to us. Now, my question is, from your visionary grade 6 social studies book, grade 6, we have the peaceful method of resolving conflicts in the society. And there was a question in the CAPSA exam about that, the same. Then from the key points we have given, arbitration, policing, peacekeeping, mediation, negotiation as some of the peaceful methods of resolving conflicts. Then from the pictures that you have given down there, up there before those points, we have some pictures whereby they are showing dialogue, they are showing litigation, some of the peaceful methods of resolving conflicts. In the CAPSA exam, there was this question about 39, whereby it was supposed to be litigation, but they have used another term. And the term that they have used is adjudication. Whereby that, from the...
You said, what is that? You didn't hear properly. We lost you.
Okay, I'm saying from the CAPSA exam, question 9, we have a question from peaceful methods of solving a conflict, and from your program today, that you use simple terms so that planners can understand like litigation. I specifically taught about litigation, but I never used adjudication. And I was teaching the 844, I also used to teach social studies, and now where we use adjudication, can we also give some other terms that can be used? Also in your books, you also need to show up other terms that can be used, because I think I can see that maybe this exam is taking the 844 system of answering questions using the multiple choices. Thank you.
Darasa ya minister nashani.
Mr. Dakai or someone can take up that question?
Unasikia hiyo ni club.
Can someone take up that question? Adakai, Prof, or any other author present?
Thank you, Mr. Koech. Yes, I can take the question, although it was not so clear. He was breaking. So I didn't get the question clearly, but trying to follow up, I think he was trying to ask the question that the book is using the word litigation, but in the exam, the word was adjudication. Yes, we try as much as possible to use simple terms, but at some point, remember, and this is very good feedback, sir, that's very good feedback, because in our revised edition, these are some of the things that we need to put into consideration, that we need to have other terms. Very positive that we can have other terms. However, the word litigation here was used under the understanding that, can we use the language of the discipline, which is the best language, which is the best term that is used for that. That's why the word litigation was used, but I accept what you've said. We accept that we can look, as much as we have the word litigation, maybe we look for other synonyms for the same. So thank you, and that's well taken care of or noted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to you.
Thank you. Let me see. Stephen Ogutu. Stephen Ogutu.
Hello?
Yes,
Yes,
we can hear you.
thank you very much. Am I being heard?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I want to appreciate the organizers of this particular webinar to engage with the teachers of Kenya in various learning areas. I've been having a number of concerns right from the first webinar that I attended that was dealing with the pre-technical studies. And even today, at the beginning of this session, I wrote them in the question, but up to now they have not been responded to. So let me say them once again for the opportunity that I've been given. One is a concern on the data bundle reimbursement, and then two has got to do with the certificate of participation issuance. How will it be issued and when? Three is a concern on delayed supply of rational
We lost Mr. Ogutu. We can engage another person. We want to engage Leonard Kibet. Leonard Kibet, Ogutu disappeared. Leonard Kibet.
Okay, thank you for the chance. Thanks for the webinar that you've just organized, you people. The question that I was to ask was the one that Mr. Okuta have just asked, and we are just waiting for the response. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to give opportunity to Lucas. Lucas. Able to Lucas dropped while speaking on him. Wasonga. Sorry, I'm not able to link. I don't know this. There is a difficulty on my side. Me as someone to help. Team, a minute kidogo. I ask someone to come and rescue my screen.
Kins, you are raising your hand. You have something to say. Yes, and unmute. Kins.
Yes.
You can hear me. Yes, you can
I
speak.
can hear you. I can hear you, Brahma. Yes. Bram?
Go ahead. You are raising your hand. Go ahead.
Oh, yes. Thank you for the meeting. I think Prof did a good job. Your rejoinder was also okay. I appreciate the feedback from the teachers. And as one of the authors, I would wish to respond on the issue raised on terminologies used in Book 6. True, as much as the terminology may not agree directly with what NEC gave, but you still being an answer, the teacher should rest assured that during marking and as a former examiner, there is what we call moderation of the marking scheme. If and when marking schemes are moderated, all possible answers and alternative terminologies are taken into consideration, and the learner's response that meets any of those still qualifies as an answer. So as much as we will need to tone down some of the terminologies, but if it's an answer, NEC cannot deny a learner such a response. Thank you. Bram?
Thank you, Kins. Thank you. Kins is one of our authors for social studies series. He has joined us. Yes, his name is Musungu Mugoha, but he also go by the name Kins. So he's one of our esteemed authors for social studies series and environmental activities. Thank you for your response, Bwana Kins.
Asante sana.
Wanadakai, anything? Justin, you are lost. Wanadakai, do you have anything of courage?
I don't know if Teacher Asa is still on board. You could say something to teachers. This is our esteemed author and a veteran teacher for many years. If you did the former system before 844, you couldn't do history without reading History of Africa by Asa Okoth. He's one of our esteemed authors, and I wish that he greet teachers so that at least they can also interact with him. But Asa, if you can hear me, perhaps you also, it will be good for teachers to see your face.
As the next question here, the questioner is brought on board, I want to bring a chat question here from Robert Kaingu. He says, I'm sorry. Robert's question scrolled elsewhere. Robert's question reads as follows. I'm from Kilifi County. Kindly share with us your resources website, and if there are any rationalized teachers guides for all our grades, kindly upload them. We shall do that. We shall do that. We shall do that. Hello. Hello. So we want to, Mr. Bellio, can you give Jackson Osinya? Give Jackson Osinya the opportunity. Jackson Osinya, yes. Jackson Osinya. Jackson Osinya seems to be away. James Marwa. Give James Marwa. James Marwa, are you on board? Pamela Gasheri, go to Pamela Gasheri.
Can you hear me?
Oh yes, you are audible. Marwa.
Okay, there is I was just trying to follow up the design, especially the grade 7 design. And when I was following up the grade 7 design, I realized that there is some areas that were rationalized, especially from the previous design that was about the AU, the OAU, and the globalization. That is the last part on the citizenship. But when the SBA came, the CBA from NEC, the first question in grade 7 was asking about countries of AU, and from the rationalized design, that topic on the AU is not there. How do we go about that?
Panelists, Bramwell, Prof.
Well,
yes. Bramwell, go on.
Well, Bwana James,
Yes.
Yes, I think what has been happening all along is that even as I'm speaking to you right now, what is on my desk is the grade 7 curricula. And I can tell you, as late as this week, the curriculum changed again. So the changes are, the improvement are continuous. So it could be by the time NEC were piloting, they used the old design. So by the time when they were setting the exam, they used the old design. So, but the continuous improvement and the harmonization has been going on. As I'm telling you, grade 7, there are even further changes than even what you already knew. Because as of the curriculum that was uploaded in May is different from the curriculum that was uploaded 2 weeks ago. So these changes are continuous and they'll still continue to change, but there is no way the final exam, the summative exam, will come to disadvantage learners. By the time NEC sets exam, it will be in tandem with the living curricula at that particular time. So that should not worry you, because I'm very sure, I'm well informed. When NEC set their pilot exam, they use the original curricula. So the continued improvement and rationalization has come in later when the paper was already set. But as I can assure you that when NEC sets the final exam, it must be in tandem with the living curricula.
Thank you. Can we give Alice Kimani? Alice Kimani? Down, run down. You'll see Alice Kimani. Sorry, Dennis is Dennis Isami. Give.
Okay.
You have a question?
I was asking.
Yes. Anyway, go call Jared Matonya. Alice is getting ready. Jared Matonya. Jared Matonya. Kindly admit. Yes.
I went offline. Yes, I would wish.
You, Matonya.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, you can get me?
Yes.
I was having some two questions. One. Hello.
We are hearing you. Go ahead.
Okay, I was saying in the topic grade 4, in the grade 4, chapter 1, where we learn about say shape, size, and location of counties in Kenya. Different authors have come with different information about the largest county in Kenya. Now we are divided, which is the largest, which is the smallest. Now I don't know what you have given out in your KLP book. Question 2, it goes to the grade 5 work concerning the national government of Kenya, the arms of the government of Kenya, whereby in an exam, which otherwise the books you are using mostly they have only one function for each. But when it comes to an exam, we have several choices. Sometimes they ask it about which one is not the use of the function of the National Assembly. But the information given in most of your books is very shallow. Have you enlarged the information? Question 3 goes to the East African cooperation. It has kept on being changing. Remember, we had 3 members. Later, they came to, we added Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan, later DRC. Now there is some whereabouts about Somalia. But now, is it integrated in your new book as you have enlightened it? That's all that I have now.
Admit also Douglas Mushai as someone prepares to answer that question. But I want to imagine that if the content in question is in the curriculum design, it will be in the book. If the content about what you've mentioned is in the curriculum design, rationalized curriculum design, it will be in the book. Anyhow, it can be given by panelists if there is any other specific answer. As we ask another questioner, James Kamande, or Douglas Mushai, before James Kamande. Douglas Mushai still there? James Kamande, any one of you? James Kamande?
Yes.
Come.
Oh, I'm James Kamande from Lam County. My concern goes to the books that we had. I have noted with a lot of concern that there are so many changes. Do we continue with the books that we had earlier for the visionary KLB, or do we have to purchase others to go in line with the current situation? That's my concern. Am I heard?
Panelists? Panelists?
Yes, Mr. Koech. Thank you for the questions. Maybe to start with the first question, I didn't get the name. If the one who asked before command, that difference shows different counties. The largest county, Marsabit and others, KLB focused on the area. You know, the county can be biggest in terms of population and also in terms of the size, square kilometers. So you may find some variations between others depending on the interpretation, how they interpreted, whether they look at the population or they looked at the counties. But again, we also want to put it this way. It's also good for teachers as they read to, if there's something that's confusing, also to fact find which exactly it is. And that I link with the question on the number of East African countries. You may realize that some of things keeps on changing every other time. What was there yesterday, as Adakai said, is not there today. So it's always good to fact find and see exact number. But as this book KLB books are being written, actually one of the key investment that is done is on the e-resources, internet, because any iota of doubt is verified. For instance, I saw in one of the comments, somebody asking the capital city, was it of Burundi? It was an issue because we had to identify which is the capital city of Burundi, and we realized that it's Gitega. And this was after a long discussion, which one is it, until we had to search and where possible even call people until we found that it's Gitega. So we do a lot of fact finding before this is done, before we give materials. Now, the other thing from Kamande is there are so many changes in the curriculum designs. Yes, there are changes. And these changes definitely means they are the books that are coming out have incorporated the changes. If the curriculum was rationalized, and like there was that question on the exam, that a question was brought and it's no longer in this. So what happens even with the book? The NEC will change the exam to remove such a thing, maybe in future. The same case will happen with books. Because if, for instance, a strand was dropped completely or was taken to another level, you cannot continue having a book with that strand and it's in another level. Definitely, these are the challenges that we go along with. Not only to the parents, because we are also parents, we are buying, but also even in terms of approval by KICD, also the bureau and other publishers incur cost because they have to pay, and this book is approved again as a new course book. So It's unfortunate as this materials keeps on changing. Well, of course, we are going to update. Parents, teachers are going to update because it's not our making, but it's the making of it's the way the feedback is tripping in. Thank you.
Thank you. We lastly want to take on Isaac Wasonga. Wasonga. Wasonga, if you are there, Wasonga.
Now, thank you, everybody. And I want to thank KLB for organizing such kind of an interactive event. Now, my question goes to KLB. It is with regard to grade 8 social studies. We have a topic there. We have a strand that is map work, and specifically my question is on topographical maps. So, as you are aware, the kind of schools in which we are, the mashinani schools, let me call them so, the rural interior schools, we have got, or there's a total lack of such kind of resources, that is the topographical maps. And if you look at what has been provided for in the course book, is too little for practice. So my question was to the KLB, maybe if you can collaborate with the KICD and you make the provision of the same to the public schools as is done with the textbooks, because these particular topographical maps are mainly found in our neighboring secondary schools, and the secondary schools that you find them are the schools that provide geography. So kindly, my question to you was, if it is possible, if KLB and KICD can collaborate and make a provision of the same. Otherwise, thank you for the wonderful presentation.
Maybe, Bonakwechi, if I may talk about this, actually, this is a challenge. Having maps, knowing that juniors schools, they don't have those maps. Those maps are mostly found in senior school, where we had Form 1, Form 2, and so on. Now in senior school, we took cognizance that these maps are not there, and we need to do a lot of exercise. That's why KLB deliberately picked some maps and tried to and put them as original as they could, for the sake of those people who are in far-flung areas who don't even access this map, at least to have something that they can be able to work with. Now, I may not so much comment about collaboration with the KICD on the issues of distributing maps. But one thing I want to mention is that maybe, Mwalimu, is that these maps, I know it can be difficult, but I know these maps are available today. Today, once the maps are done, exams, geography exams are done, all these maps are taken back to National Examination Council. They have so many of them, and they are selling a copy at 100 shillings. So, and with all these maybe issues of parcels and what have you, it's easy. Initially, it was so difficult because for you to get a topo map, you have to go to Survey of Kenya. You must have a letter from Department of Defense to authorize you to get that map that you're using for academic purpose. And a map costs 400 shillings. But you go to NEC, or you communicate with people in NEC, they'll just buy those maps and send them as a parcel at 100 shillings a copy. So that can be another option before even we explore whether KICD can be able to provide and do. And probably, as you liaise with the KLB, Mr. Koech being one of the people in marketing, probably if you may, as you request for visit, they come to talk to you about KLB in their marketing strategies, probably you may consider requesting them whether they can have maybe the topo maps with them at, I don't know how they can because I don't work for them, but probably you can liaise with them and see how they can make good use. You can use them to bring the maps. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm locating myself. Okay. Thank you so very much. I want us come to the end of the session. Sincere apology for the participants whose hands have been up for long. I've seen others drop. Sorry for we were not able to bring everybody on board to participate. Either way, we are saying thank you for turning up. Before we wind up, therefore, I wish our team could share the contacts of our field officers for you to reach them out in case for our continued interaction. Before we wind up, I'll get a list of the officers. There is one which I have here. I will want to share that list so that you can continue interacting with us beyond just now. There is a list of the officers you can continue to reach.
Bana Coach.
Yes.
With your indulgence.
Yes.
I even as teachers get the contacts of our field officers. There is an officer on call. I wish that he greets teachers so that they also get to appreciate the people who've written these books, so that when they meet out there, it does not just appear like these people, we hear them. At least they can also greet the teachers. I have Professor Egara Kabaji. If you
kindly
can
bring him on board.
Prof, kindly, if you can, just greet teachers. Professor is also one of our panelists for this grade 7, 8, 9. Prof, kindly.
I've mounted, as Prof comes on board, I've mounted the list of our officers out there you can reach so that they can bring the books to school and even come and continue the discussion we've had together. They are also in the room. As Prof is coming, as we are including the other officers, the other panelists who had not spoken, I want to confirm to one of the participants that for this round of webinars, we are sorry, we are not going to reimburse the data bundles. We are sorry. But in future, we will have a collaboration with a service provider and give you data. Secondly, certificates will be issued after Monday because some of you or most of you will be participating continuously. So we shall use MagMail so that all notes will be sent to the mails which registered. So if you are present in every facilitation, we'll send to that common mail that you used in every facilitation so that you have notes on one single mail, one mail bringing all the notes. So we'll use MagMail facility to send the notes. Thank you. Mr. Adakai, Professor hasn't joined.
He's logging
No,
in.
I'm in. I am in.
You
Can
are
we
welcome,
see your face, Prof? Kindly.
Yeah.
Can we see your face? At least you greet teachers.
No problem, but I'm seated under a tree.
That too is good. That too is good.
Hello?
Yes. Go ahead.
I hope you can see me now.
Yes.
No, tutatumia mchemi alete tu hii. Pamoja na hiyo yao. Unajua walikuwa
Support hii kwa hiyo tunatumia sasa hivi.
Na mwanze mapema. Sisi tunataka.
Hello?
Can you mute, Professor?
Yes,
Continue.
can you see me?
Yes.
How are you?
We are fine, Professor.
I'm happy to join you. This is quite exciting when you meet people who have gathered together to learn something new. That's a very clear indication that we are taking knowledge generation and dissemination seriously. And I really want to appreciate the organizers of this webinar and all those who have attended. So I'm following very closely. Asante sana. Hello?
Yes, Prof,
Yes,
tunakusikia.
continue, Prof.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof.
Asante sana.
All right. So, teachers, when the Prof was saying that our books are written by a competent pool of teachers across the country, and you can see the richness we have. We have 2 professors on board. We have classroom teachers all over the country. So Professor Egara is one of our authors for grade 7, grade 8, and grade 9. And when you interact with our books, you will see how resourceful it is. We have moderated it to the level of the learner, and we'll find it very resourceful to our learners as even you engage them in the classroom. So thank you so much, Prof, for greeting our teachers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. And back to me, I'd like, therefore, to sincerely, on behalf of the marketing team across the country whose names have been mounted, you can see, say sincere thanks to you, teachers, for supporting Kenya Literature Bureau, for receiving us in your schools. Continue inviting us to your schools through the contacts so shared. We are looking forward to sharing our books and knowledge together going forward and every other time. I want to welcome our General Manager, Kenneth Jumba, Publishing and Production, to close the session for us.
Good. Thank you very much, Koech. I have seen Professor Egara, man of letters. I have seen our good professor from Garissa, Professor Huho. I've heard Kint Davis' voice, and our good teachers spread across the Republic. We are happy that you have taken your time to work with us in this session. Actually, what we are doing is that we are engaging our partners to hear their views, their feedback. I've had some very good feedback from our teachers in terms of the vocabulary used, which when we shall be meeting, particularly on 7 and 8, which titles are being worked on now. Those are the kind of issues that we shall be addressing so that our vocabulary to the learners is as simple and as easy as possible. The first thing I'll wish to say before we close this is that 7 and 8, between now and next year, please. These books will be submitted in December, so January, you will still use the books that are there, 7 and 8. So don't look for any new book for 7 and 8. Those ones you use what is there. Our authors and editors are now working on them, which will be evaluated at the end of the year to be bought by the government or distributed through our bookshops next year. So we are happy. We encourage you to make use of our books the way you have done in the past. Just the same way the 844 social studies series was done is the same approach that we have. What we encourage is that even if you have gotten another book from any other publisher, which has been purchased by the government because of other consideration, I'll urge you to also get our book and compare. And without forcing you to buy, you'll find that we have an upper edge in everything. So I'll just urge our teachers, wherever you are, you have the contacts of the people who help us to popularize our books, the nation, the numbers you can see on your screen. Please get in touch with them wherever they are. If you have a manuscript and you wish also to be published, you have an interest in publishing, you are a good storyteller, you can write some good stories on environment to support the course book that we have done, please. We encourage you because KLB is created to grow local authorship, and you are part of that potential authors that we have. So mine today is just to wish you well. We are happy that you are able to sacrifice your time plus other things to be with us for these 2-3 hours. We will continue engaging. And I want to also thank our colleagues who are in the field for facilitating this and encourage to arrange for many of these so that we are able to clarify many of the gray areas that we are now hearing or seeing our readers giving us feedback on. So without much ado, I just wish everyone a good time, a good weekend, and we have many more webinars lined for other learning areas. CRE, we shall be having it, Kiswahili, mathematics, all those. So if you have the time, please, let's engage. Even when you are engaging in those other learning areas and you have anything on social, don't hesitate, or any other learning area, don't hesitate. If anything has not been clarified for you for the webinars that have been done and you wish that clarification to be done when we have any other facilitation, please just come up and raise it up. We shall engage each other and see how we can sort it together. Otherwise, let's have good time and may God bless all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jumba, our General Manager. Thank you, our facilitators, our panelists. Thank you, our teachers. Our books will be available to you through the bookshops. We supply books through the bookshops unless we have organized in groups like KPSA, which are CITAM schools, which can buy directly. Otherwise, on day-to-day basis, we sell books through the bookshops. I want to guarantee all participants who are here, we sell through bookshop unless we have organized groups or group of schools. One of them is CITAM, which buys as a group. Otherwise, under normal circumstances, we sell through bookshop. So get your books from the local bookshop. I've heard your concern, the anonymous attendee from Kitui. Books will be sold through the bookshop. Otherwise, I want to sincerely thank all of you for participating, being with me, being with us from Monday and up to today, and I'll be there. We shall be there together again next Monday and the remaining seminars. I want to wish all of you a great festive season, Christmas, Merry Christmas 2024, and a productive 2025, peaceful 2025, a great teaching career, and Kenya Literature Bureau will power your career through its publications. Goodbye, and thank you. Members can leave at their pleasure. However, we will shut the room in the next 4 minutes. Professor, where were you beaming from? You've disappeared. Yeah, members, keep living at your pleasure. We forgot to pray, but we've said goodbye. Thank you. Aye.